What's going on, knuckleheads? If you'd like to talk about combat sports and you want to join our discussions and now our live streams, be sure to hit the subscribe button below, hit the bell notification icon next to it, and become a part of Fighters Reps official Knucklehead Nation. So, knuckleheads, this is our post-fight reaction discussion to Francis Ngannou versus Junior Dos Santos. And I hate to say it, as I predicted, I hate to say I told you so, but Francis Ngannou, with just 1 minute and 11 seconds into round number one, absolutely decimates Junior Dos Santos in what I think was an expected knockout win. Excuse me, knuckleheads. I predicted that Francis Ngannou was going to win this fight within the first 3 rounds by knockout, and it didn't even have to go beyond 1 minute and 11 seconds of round number one. They were saying he's the African Mike Tyson. I don't think he's the African Mike Tyson. I think this guy is special beyond anything we've ever seen before. This guy, if he touches you, you are dead meat. It doesn't matter who you are. Nobody can take this guy's power. Absolutely nobody. And he's dangerous, as he showed in the Stipe Miocic fight to the very last minute, even when he's gassed. If that fist touches you, you're going to sleep. Simon Martinez, thank you so much for joining the chat, brother. I appreciate you very much for joining the chat. Again, knuckleheads, this is our post-fight discussion. Francis Ngannou has just laid waste to Junior Dos Santos and forced himself to become the #1 contender in the heavyweight division. He's going to be taking on DC or Stipe, depending on who wins that fight. But as I indicated, that punch, if it lands on anybody, Francis Ngannou, if he lays a knuckle on anybody, knuckleheads, including anyone in Knucklehead Nation, we're going to sleep. The guy is just an absolute wrecking machine, and I cannot get enough of him. I love watching Francis Ngannou. I knew he was going to win this fight, and I'm really excited to see what he can do against the winner of Stipe versus DC. Which is another very intriguing matchup. DC took that first fight, but let's see if Stipe can do something to kind of change things up for the rematch. So back to Francis Ngannou versus Junior Dos Santos. It was interesting while it lasted. Francis Ngannou came out and employed a leg kick, which was very hard. There's a new wrinkle he seems to be adding to his game, is the kicking game, and obviously he can generate a lot of power with the kicks, not just the punches, as he showed in this fight. He seemed to be really stinging Junior Dos Santos with those leg kicks. Junior returned the favor and actually dropped Ngannou, knocked him off his feet for a second with his own leg kick, and then, as so many heavyweights have done before, Junior Dos Santos went on the offensive. Well, before we even get into that, let me just say I really disliked Junior Dos Santos's boxing stance. Now, it's his natural stance. He's kind of like this, and he's got his chin way up. You know, he claims to be the best boxer in the heavyweight division. Perhaps he was until tonight, one of them. But I just think it's incredibly foolish to fight a guy like Francis Ngannou, who has the power, you know, of Thanos on his side, and if, you know, to fight him like this with your chin sticking out in the air, just absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, back to what I was saying, Junior Dos Santos made the mistake that so many guys make when they fight Francis Ngannou, and nobody alluded to it on the broadcast, so I'm going to give it to you right here, knuckleheads. Over and over and over and over, I see Francis Ngannou's opponents, they're very nervous, they're very hesitant, and then they just explode and they put everything into the punch. and they overcommit so hard, and it's as if, I think what he's doing in there is he's giving them the feeling that perhaps they're closer than they actually are, or he's just so quick in pulling back, and he's got such a long reach, and so much range of motion in his hips that they think they're close enough to hit him, and they just absolutely commit everything that they have into a massive punch to finish him. It happened with Alistair Overeem. It happened with Andrei Arlovsky, if you watch the replay. And it happened tonight with Junior Dos Santos, where Dos Santos threw the biggest haymaker he could, committed everything to it, and got countered and put to sleep like the other two guys did. In the same fashion, these guys throw everything into the punch. They're completely committed. They're falling over, and they're right there for Ngannou to just devour. I mean, he eats them alive when they overcommit like that. You're in the guy's wheelhouse. What are you doing? Again, Arlovsky did the same thing and paid the price and got knocked out. Alistair Overeem did the same thing, and he's still orbiting our solar system or planet Earth or wherever. I mean, that was a sick knockout. And tonight's was almost an exact replica of what he did to Arlovsky. And you would think that these heavyweights would start to catch on, especially a guy as seasoned as Junior Dos Santos. But it just doesn't seem to be occurring to these guys that in order to beat a guy like Francis Ngannou, you have to be very technical, and you can't overcommit on your punches. If you're going to go in there and fight a guy like that and overcommit to the point where you're leaving yourself wide open, you're asking for it. You're on a suicide mission. And that's what happened here. Again, I implore you guys to go back, watch the Andrei Arlovsky fight. It's the same finish. They're even in the same position, on their knees, bent over when the fight ends. It's the same exact finish. So now we're going to go to the comments section. I appreciate you guys very much joining us in the chat today. I'd love to hear your opinions on what happens next. What's next for Francis? Who do you guys think he's actually going to be fighting? Who's going to win that bout? Do you agree with my analysis that these guys need to stop overcommitting when they're throwing haymakers at Francis Ngannou and need to stick to their technical boxing? Let me hear your thoughts. So Anderson Jang is saying Francis Ngannou versus the One Punch Man. Simon Martinez, Ngannou talked to Dana after the fight for title shot. He sure did, Simon. He said he wants a title shot. He wants his respect. He earned his respect, and he absolutely did earn his respect. Bank 80 said it happened with Cain Velasquez also. It sort of did happen with Cain. I mean, he just overcommitted with the takedown, I think it was, and then Ngannou just clipped him. But really, I mean, if you guys watch the fight tonight and go back and watch the Arlovsky fight or even the Overeem fight, very, very similar. Kamar Lewis, Ngannou will KO Stipe or DC. I think he can KO the hell out of Stipe or DC, but Stipe is a lot more technical in his boxing than these guys that he's fought, and DC's got wicked takedown abilities and wrestling, and he's also, I think, a little bit tighter with his boxing, or he'll be smart enough to be tighter with his boxing. So it would be an interesting matchup. But yes, if a Francis Ngannou punch lands clean on anybody, I don't care who, when, where, they're going to sleep. They're going to sleep bad. Tolstoy says one punch KOs are the dullest part of MMA. Well, I don't know if I agree with you on that, Tolstoy. Simon said Ngannou, future heavyweight champ, a huge possibility. Simon, that's a huge possibility. You're saying you can't stand up with Francis Ngannou. Well, Stipe Miocic stood up with Francis Ngannou, but he showed that you have to be extremely careful and technical. You can't open yourself up. I thought JDS was having some success with the low kicks. He should have probably stuck to the low kicks because his boxing, a stance like this, right, with his chin sticking up in the air. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster against anyone. He got knocked out by Stipe. Now he's been knocked out by Francis. If he goes up against anyone with boxing with his chin sticking up in the air like that, it's the heavyweight division, and he's got an absolute chance to get killed if he does that. So it's crazy. Rumble, young man, rumble. Dana will start saying Francis hits like Ford Escort again. Haha, Dana. Where are you at? It will look more like a Ford Expedition tonight, my man. And he just hits way too hard. It's incredible. It's incredible the power that this guy has. But you can. It's understandable. The guy's completely ripped. He's jacked. He's been working salt mines from when he was a kid. He's been training for boxing. He wanted to become a boxer. Now he's an MMA fighter. He looks like he's 99% fast twitch muscle. He's got an 83-inch reach. I mean, there's so much leverage and so much power, and his hands are like this big. What are you doing when you go in there against a guy like that? The highway in front of a Ford Expedition with your face like this. Just hit me in the face. Ford, just please hit me in the face. I think Ford needs to sponsor Francis Ngannou because it's just getting ridiculous. The fight was 2 years ago. He started MMA 7 years ago, so he improved a lot. This is Simon Martinez saying this, and I'm assuming he's talking about the Stipe fight. And yes, I mean, he has improved. He had a bit of looked like a brain fart after that Stipe fight when he fought the Black Beast. But now he's back. And he is dangerous, man. I love watching this guy. Mac L is saying the guys was shoveling sand since he was 10. Yes, that's something to take into consideration. I mean, he's had that natural strength from a child, and it's obviously transcended into his adulthood, and he's a problem. I mean, first off, it's the heavyweight division. If you hit anybody that hard, and you weigh over 200 pounds, they're in trouble. Anybody over 200 pounds can punch, really, but I mean, this guy is just lethal. I mean, he doesn't even have to throw with any kind of conviction. I mean, if he just throws a punch, you're dead. But I mean, I keep seeing the same thing. Are you guys seeing it? These guys throw these haymakers and overcommit, leave themselves wide open to the most devastating puncher with the longest reach in the division. I don't listen. I don't want to be an armchair MMA coach, but help me out here. I mean, why would you do that? Why would you do that? I don't understand. Maybe it's wrong with me. Tolstoy, you can only do it Habib style against a guy like that. Kane had a chance but got caught. I think you're right. Or if your boxing is super slick and you have to have wrestling to slow the guy down. I think you're right. You might be right, Tolstoy. At this point now, that he's added this new wrinkle of kicks, he might be just the destroyer of the division. Simon Martinez is saying, watching Francis, it's like due to a fatality in Mortal Kombat. Oh, my God. Senor Nihilist is saying he got that slave strength. Well, I wouldn't go as far as calling him a slave, but, when he was working those mines, I mean, I'm sure that's really tough work that not anybody can do. Maybe I'm sure a lot of people probably died doing that kind of work. He's definitely a strong guy. 23B Rad is saying, "Don't you wish you shoveled sand since you were 10?" No, I lit a lot of my own shit, but because My family was pretty militant in the chores they made me do, but shoveling sand is not something that I did that much of. But man, you can tell there's some natural strength there. Uh, couldn't wrestle a sack of potatoes though, says Matt Mackel. Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I'm sure he's been working on his wrestling a lot. You know, that's his weak point, and he had Kamaru Usman in his corner tonight, and I'm sure who's a wrestling based fighter, and I'm sure he's working on it. C. Kim Chung is saying he is something else. He will push the UFC to another level. He will make UFC to Africa and to boxing. You know, I love the whole Africa or having the African fighters on. I think that's so sick. I was actually telling my matchmaker Jesse Brown that today, um, and I was telling him because Jesse actually helps a promotion out in West Africa, and there's a lot of talent there. You know, like in a lot of countries, there's a lot of talent that just needs to get found. And I was telling him, man, it's so cool to have these African fighters. They got so much potential, and hopefully now they have, another avenue to kind of showcase that potential. So C. Kim Chung, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Much appreciated on the comment. If you are from Africa, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I got a lot of love and respect for the African fighters. Not really into personal politics that much, but I am of Arab descent myself, and I got a lot of love for the African fighters and the fighters in that region. Simon Martinez, if he is the future champion heavyweight, maybe we're gonna UFC in Paris. It will be awesome. Yeah, I mean that's a huge market too. In France, man, it's crazy to me how many awesome fighters there are in France and in Europe, and you see a lot of them like going to Glory and stuff. And I think eventually, they'll make their way to the UFC. Um, Tolstoy is saying he wrestled with Curtis Blades and did well. Yes, he did. He did do well. So I mean, I don't think his wrestling is too bad. He's also got a submission win. Let's not forget he's got a submission win on his record. Raul Castillo, Africa will dominated UFC. Pure warriors. Well, I mean, let's see about that. There's tough guys everywhere, but definitely, big up to Africa. They're doing some good stuff. They've made a huge impact. And it's really cool to see all these different countries kind of unite in this sport, and it's really become like an international sport to where the best of the best are fighting each other. And I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. If you guys would do me the honor on July 27th for Fighters Rep 7, we'll be airing it here live, and we'll have fighters from all over the world too. We're located in Southern California. We got serious fighters from any region you can think of. So it'll be free right here on YouTube. Also, if you kind of want to help us build the promotion, it is partially crowd-funded, and anything you guys donate below or in the super chat, I'll invest it basically back into the promotion and to keep helping out the amazing fighters we have here in Southern California, which I believe to be the best young fighters in the world. But back to Ngannou, what an amazing, vicious, strong heavyweight, man. I've never seen a physical specimen like that in anything. I mean, I think the only person that you can kind of compare him to was like a prime George Foreman. I mean, that's the only person I can compare him to as a prime George Foreman. The guy's just an absolute specimen. Simon Martinez, MMA going to be legal soon. Can't wait. Also, I'm assuming it's not legal in France. Raul Castillo, hello, brother. Do happy Francis win. But yes, Francis Ngannou won tonight. He demolished Junior Dos Santos. Um, it was not. It was not close. It was not close. Dos Santos again had a little bit of success with the leg kick at the beginning, but rushed in, overcommitted. I think Francis Ngannou, when you're in there against him, he's probably luring you in and making you feel like you can hit him. He's pulling away. The guys are totally bent over and fully committed with their punches. He lays that trap. He stands in front of them. He lets them think that he's close enough to be hit. He pulls away. They've already committed, and once you do that against Francis Ngannou, bam, you're in his wheelhouse. Bam, he just finishes you off, and he did that again tonight. He's a real problem, and it's such a simple thing, the pullback. That's something a lot of fighters do. I actually used to love watching like the replays of Floyd Mayweather doing it. He'd make you feel like you were close enough to hit him, and then he'd pull back and he'd counter. But this is different because it's MMA. The guys don't seem to be as educated with their punches, and instead of just throwing out a hard punch, they're committing. They're throwing haymakers, and they're going all in, and he's making them pay every time. And it's like they just don't want to learn. They just don't want to learn that you can't fully commit against Francis Ngannou like that. You're going to get destroyed. Asta Supreme 82 says, damn, Africa with tears coming out. Dude, for real, Africa is doing some big things in the sport right now, man. Raul Castillo, DC will not try Francis anyway. Well, I mean, if DC wins the next fight, there's a good chance he retires. Why would he want to continue fighting? I think even if he loses to Stipe, if DC loses or wins or loses, he could easily retire and it's over. I think the only way he would probably continue is if he got that John Jones fight. KBB saying Santos needs to retire. Well, I mean, does he need to retire, or could he have adjusted his game plan and done better work in there? What did he do in there? He went in, he landed a good leg kick, knocked Francis off his feet. Instead of going back to the well and continuing to throw that leg kick out there and boxing smart, instead of boxing smart and staying in his guard and keeping his hands up, he threw that one leg kick. He was, walking around like this with his chin straight up. I mean, this guy actually like affirmatively makes an effort to keep his chin up. And I don't know why as a boxer. I mean, I don't know. Everybody has their own style, but I don't know why as a boxer, especially against a guy who if he hits you, you're dead, why you would keep your chin up and your hands down like that just doesn't make sense. And then why would you commit so much with that haymaker, knowing that this guy's a counterpuncher? This guy's waiting for you to open up. So, and now he's added this new wrinkle to his game with this kick, with these kicks. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who can beat this guy now, and that's Francis Ngannou. Simon Martinez is also saying he should be retired. Do not do the same thing like Fedor. Well, I don't think Santos needs to retire. I don't think there's any shame in losing to Francis Ngannou. Dos Santos has beaten everyone in the division, basically, except for DC, who he hasn't fought. He's got a win over Stipe. He's got a win over Cain Velasquez. He's rattled off a couple wins in a row before this fight. He's still one of the best heavyweights in the world. If he goes back and changes his game plan, puts his hands up, doesn't commit like a dummy, doesn't give up after throwing one successful leg kick. Maybe tries to take Francis to the ground or something. Maybe he's more successful. I think he just has to go back to the drawing board. I mean, I don't know. It was poor. It was a poor game plan, piss poor against a guy like Francis Ngannou. Worst division in the UFC, the heavyweights, says Sayan Kobe. I don't know. I mean, it probably is the weakest. division, but is it the worst? I mean, we always get excitement. We get a lot of finishes. So, it depends on what you're looking for. But as far as talent goes, probably is the worst saying. I think you're right there. Um, Simon is saying JDS not make Francis a little girl, as he said. He sure didn't. He got the crap kicked out of him. Tolstoy is saying DC can do it if he gets to him. Yeah, I mean DC can beat him, and Stipe's already shown that he can beat him. It's just gonna, it's gonna come down to whether they can avoid that power, and it's gonna get harder and harder, especially as he learns other things and adds new things to his arsenal, like these kicks that he was throwing today. And Kudzi Moyo is saying, and thank you guys so much for joining the chat. Much appreciated. If you want to help me through crowdfunding to continue to build the promotion Fighters Rep, I much appreciate any donations below to the super chat, or even buying a Fighters Rep shirt. The proceeds will go back into Fighters Rep. Fighters Rep 7 is going to be live right here on YouTube, free on July 27th. The best young talent, just standing and banging it out. There's no grappling. We do unified rules, kickboxing. We're trying to make it a big thing in the United States, so any donations, even a little bit, is much appreciated. But Kudzi Moyo is saying those kicks were hard AF. And yes, my man, they were. From both guys, but definitely two from Francis. Those were more noticeable because we're not used to watching him kick. So I thought it was amazing that he was in there kicking like that. James Bradley is saying, I think floating his chin out there was a subconscious response to Ngannou pounding him with leg kicks. Well, I mean, I don't think so, because he had his chin out there from the outset. He always boxes like that, with his chin out. What does kicking your legs have to do with tucking your chin or not? Someone kicks my leg, I'm not going to untuck my chin. Dos Santos, that's just his style, and I appreciate that people just have a style, but sometimes you gotta adapt to be successful, and you can't go out there with your chin up and your hands down against a monster puncher like that. You can't. This guys, knuckleheads. This guy is the biggest puncher in combat sports. This guy might be a bigger puncher than Deontay Wilder, and he's not in boxing. He's in MMA, and I'm saying that. And with these 4-ounce gloves, if he grazes you, you're going to sleep. This guy's a real problem. Real problem. FDMZ is saying, I really think Francis Ngannou would destroy Stipe in a rematch. That dude is just something else. Jesus. There's a real chance. I mean, unless Stipe can do what he did last time, avoid the power and just take him down and keep him down. If Francis has worked on his wrestling at all, it's going to be problematic for Stipe, but it's a fight I'm excited to watch. Simon is saying, new rules. When you fight against Francis, you can have a helmet. All right, Simon. I know you're from France, and you're loving the moment right now. Congratulations, my man. That's funny, but take it easy, all right? No special rules for Francis. Kudzi Moyo, it's like when people feel his power, they lose focus on their game plan. Surely everyone knows how to play patient with Ngannou. Yeah, Kudzi, I don't know what's going on, man. I mean, he overcommitted on a haymaker and fell into the same trap like every single other guy has against Francis, throwing that ridiculous haymaker, overcommitting to the point where you're bent over and out of position, ready to get destroyed, blasted out by the hardest puncher in the fight game. I don't know. J. Manuel Jam is saying, not a clean KO, but hey, it was going to happen sooner or later. Well, I don't know what you mean by not a clean KO. I mean, do you mean he didn't hit him, connect cleanly, and knock him completely out, or did you mean that it wasn't a good stoppage? If it's the latter, it definitely was a good stoppage, but if you meant the former, then I totally agree with you. It didn't land completely flush, but it's still enough to knock the guy out and get the fight stopped. Ngannou got incredible reach. Those hooks had some trebuchet effect, and that's LJ Landriault. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, LJ. Yeah, his reach is incredible, and he's just an absolute beast. He's got crazy leverage. Is writing DC going back to light heavyweight. Well, Philippe, I'm not sure DC wants to go back to light heavyweight, but after watching that, he may consider doing that as dieting is probably better. It's probably better to eat greens than Francis Ngannou punches. I'll say that. Brett Deo saying, hands up, champ. Relax, LOL. He won't beat Cormier. He'll whoop Stipe, I think, though. That's a possibility. That is a possibility. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's see if Cormier can get past Stipe in this next fight. That's interesting. That's interesting because a lot of people think Cormier is not going to be able to do it again. I didn't think it was a lucky finish on Cormier's part. I thought he just did what he does and laid Stipe out because Stipe was careless on the inside. So let's see what happens with that fight. I'm going to be very interested, and I'm going to be very interested to see when they fight Francis, whoever the winner is, what happens there. Sadek Kemgang Tema wrote LOL. I don't know, Sadek, what you're laughing at, but Ngannou's power is no laughing matter, brother. That guy, he's got some serious power in those hands. Kamar Lewis wrote, there's something about Africans, their belief and pride. Ngannou is the truth. Definitely they've got belief and pride. The African fighters competing in the UFC, and they're doing a great job. And I applaud them and I admire them. But, you can say that about, I think, any culture or continent has belief and pride in itself. But awesome. Awesome performance. Very cool to have, someone from Cameroon in the UFC doing so well. A couple of Nigerian champs. I think it's just very cool. It's good for the sport, to have this diversity. It's good for all combat sports. J. Manuel Jam, thanks for the acknowledgement. I would prefer a complete knockout instead of the fighter covering and taking shots and not responding. Oh, I got you, J. Manuel Jam. Well, yes, you prefer distilled, unadulterated violence as opposed to block shots. And I totally understand that. It definitely makes for better television. So thank you for clearing that up. And it's my pleasure to acknowledge you guys. We do this just so you guys know. We do a prediction. Well, I do a prediction. I'm George with Fighters Rep. Subscribe below if you like to talk about combat sports, watch free fights, etc. But I do a prediction and preview of the big fight coming up every weekend on Thursday nights at 9 Pacific, live streaming. And then I do post-fight reactions and discussions with you guys immediately after all the big fights, typically on Saturdays. We also interview fighters and coaches. Those come up randomly about once or twice a week. And then we post our own fights, Fighters Rep Kickboxing. I do Unified Rules Kickboxing. We have a promotion out here in Southern California with some of the most talented young fighters in the world. And so it's sort of a crowd-funded promotion at this point, since I have some of you guys helping out now by donating in the super chat. So that's always much appreciated. And we can keep this thing going. Also, if you buy a shirt, that also helps us very much. So thank you guys so much. You can tune in for free, and we'll keep our fights free as long as we get donations. On July 27th, Fighters Rep 7. You won't want to miss it. It's an absolutely stacked card. It's going to be free right here on YouTube Live for you guys to watch. It's going to be badass. So Crazy is saying, hi. Hi, Crazy. How are you doing? Kamar Lewis, DC will eat an uppercut. Do you mean he'll eat it, Kamar, and go to sleep? Or do you mean he'll eat it and, keep walking forward? I'm curious to know what you mean by that, because I think if anyone eats an uppercut from Francis Ngannou, then they're probably not going to be walking at all. Kamar, you just cleared it up. Eat it and go night-night. Yes, I agree. LJ, is writing, Francis may be the first French fighter since that Savat guy in UFC 1. Well, LJ, wasn't Sheikh Congo French? I think Sheikh Congo was French, so I could be wrong, but he was another hard-hitting beast of a man. And I don't know. I'm sure there's been other French fighters. Philippe is saying Ngannou versus John Jones. Nice perspective. Oh, man, that would be an interesting fight, but that'd be a fight that if I'm John Jones, I stay away from because Ngannou is bigger, stronger, faster, and just scary. I mean, that's one of those fights where you say, okay, that guy is too big for me. That's not to say John Jones couldn't potentially beat him, but that's a scary fight. If I'm John Jones, I think twice before that. FDMZ wrote, both listed as 6'4", but Francis was way taller. Someone is lying. Francis is easily 6'5". Well, FDMZ, Francis is easily 6'5", or Francis is actually a real 6'4", and Junior Santos is not. Excuse me, Junior Dos Santos is not. A lot of guys exaggerate their height, and some underreport, depending on what effect they're going for. You see that in a lot of combat sports. Please tell your prediction. Raul Castillo saying, please tell your prediction. Next fight, John Jones. Raul, thank you so much for joining us again, my man. I believe you joined us last time. You might have been the Dominican guy, if I remember. But regardless, thank you. I appreciate everybody that's joining us internationally. That's really awesome. I'm very flattered by that. Thank you so much, Raul. I think John Jones is going to have the fight of. He's going to have the toughest fight of his career, maybe in this upcoming guy, Thiago. I think it's Thiago Santos. If Thiago actually comes out and fights the way he normally does, because he's very aggressive, he hits very hard, and I think John Jones can have a real fight on his hands. But I'm the kind of guy that always has to go with skill, and so I got to go with John Jones on this one. I think John Jones beats anyone in the light heavyweight division, and just about anybody in the UFC. Period. H Chameleon Music World said yes. Sheikh is French. Yeah, I knew Sheikh was French. I had a feeling. Bella Horvath, Ngannou from Nigeria. No, Bella, I believe Ngannou's from Cameroon. And Simon corrected that. Yes, Ngannou's from Cameroon as far as I know, not Nigeria. But he did have a Nigerian nightmare in his corner tonight, which was really interesting. I'd love to know what that meant. Did it mean more than just a fellow African coming out to support his boy in Usman Kamaru? Who knows? Ngannou's from Cameroon. Yes, we've established that, ladies and gentlemen. We have established that. John Jones would keep his space and wrestle Ngannou. Well, Cain Velasquez tried wrestling Ngannou, and that didn't really work out. Stipe was able to do it, but almost got knocked out like 12 times throughout that fight. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens. 56K Smith is saying Jones recently said he probably will go to heavyweight. Well, maybe he goes to heavyweight, but if I'm Jones, I am staying away from Francis Ngannou. And as long as I can make the 205-pound light heavyweight limit, that's where I'm at if I'm John Jones, because those big guys are a problem. Kamar Lewis, Thiago is too small, bro. He may be, but as we've seen lately, the trend has been the smaller guys have been getting the better of a lot of the bigger guys. And you can see that in Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua. You can see that in Cormier versus Stipe. The height thing and the reach thing seems to be kind of a controversy lately with so many smaller guys finding success against their larger opponents. But, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. You may be right. FDMZ, Francis would send Jones on the moon, to be honest. Francis is just way bigger. That could happen too. Simon Martinez, maybe Jones got some pills for have an iron chin. Simon, I don't care what pills you take. Simon, you're not behaving today, Simon. And it's really late or really early right now in France, Simon. And you need to, chill out because you're not behaving today, Simon. Hey, send me some delicious French pastries or something, Simon, or donate in the super chat. Your comments are much appreciated. Thiago's going to eat oblique kicks for days, get taken down and elbowed into oblivion. I like your choice of words, Kamar. I would agree that that's probably what's going to happen in the fight, but I think that if anyone has a chance to beat Jones, it's someone who could bring the chaos and destruction the way Thiago can. Angola 09 wrote, Ngannou do not only have power, he's one of the best counter fighter. He fights with his instinct. Angola, I agree so much. I was saying at the beginning of this stream, why in the world are these guys throwing punches at Ngannou and overcommitting so much, allowing themselves to get countered, knowing that that's what he does? That's what this guy does. He lures people into his trap. They throw a haymaker to try to get him out of there. He pulls. After he pulls, they're all out of position, and now he's pulled back, and he's in position to counter. And that's what he does. He pulls, he counters. And it's just over and over again. It's sad to watch. You would think people were smarter about it, but they're not. Kamar Lewis, Ngannou and Usman taking back all the gold to Africa. That's what it means, bro. Kamar. I like it, Kamar. Well, let's see. I mean, everybody wants some gold nowadays, my man. Ano Sodi. But the reason it did not work for Kane is because his leg blew out. Well, Ano Sodi. No, Ano Sodi. That's not what happened. You see, what happened was Kane got hit on the chin and went unconscious for a second or lost his feeling in his legs, and that's why his leg blew out. So it was the hit on the chin, the leg blowing out, and it was finished. So basically, Ngannou caused the leg to blow out by hitting him on the button. Treasure Nwakiz, Usman is training his ground game. I mean, that's what I would imagine is happening. I think that's a great idea for Ngannou to be working with Usman, because Usman is an absolute beast of a wrestler, as he showed in completely wiping the floor with Tyron Woodley in that last fight. Simon Martinez, 6:30 a.m. I need to sleep a little. Simon, yes, you need to sleep or have a coffee and stay with us. Raul Castillo, thanks you for Remember Dominican Republic on the fight every week. Raul, of course, my brother. We got much love for La República Dominicana, my brother. So stay tuned, and I appreciate your presence. FDMZ is saying, if Francis beats Stipe in a rematch, I think it'll be fair to say that he got one of the best resume ever. And if he can beat Cormier at some point, he'll be in the GOAT discussion easily. And you're absolutely right about that, FDMZ. I mean, it's crazy how little you have to do in the heavyweight division, or how it seems like you only have to do a little to be in the GOAT talks. But it's quite a feat to win 2 or 3 straight in the heavyweight division. It's just so hard. And as we've seen, it's really hard to defend that belt. Stipe has a record for defending the belt. I think he only defended it three times, maybe 4. And that's the record. And that's not really a lot, Simon Martinez, he take a shot on the chin, not okay, a knee. All right, Simon. I think you're getting delirious now. Kamar Lewis, keep up the good work, my brother. I like your content. Bless up. Thank you so much, Kamar. That means a lot to me, bro. I really appreciate you. And hey, if you guys want to show your appreciation besides joining the chat, which I appreciate greatly, if you got a little money to donate to the super chat or donate below or buy a Fighters Rep t-shirt, it'll be much appreciated. The money goes basically I invested back into the promotion, and we'll be giving you guys live fights. Our next fight is July 7th, or I'm sorry, July 27th at Fighters Rep 7. The best young strikers in the world are going to be going at it. It's going to be live right here on YouTube. So much appreciated. Any donations to the super chat or purchases of Fighters Rep merchandise in the links below. Simon Martinez, imagine if Francis start MMA at 10 years old. Yeah, that would have been scary, man. That would have been really scary. But who knows? I mean, everybody has a sort of path they're on. Maybe he wouldn't have found MMA had he started at 10 years old. Maybe he would have gotten burned out, like so many of the athletes. I know a bunch of people that grew up playing a sport from when they were young and just got sick of it. Didn't want to play it anymore. Happens a lot. So maybe it was for the better for him to find it at this point. Anna Sodi is saying, imagine Johnny Walker versus Francis. That's going to be fun. I mean, but I imagine Johnny Walker versus John Jones. I think that's going to be next. Bonker, stay calm. Thank you, Bonker. Much appreciated. FDMZ, he destroyed so many great guys in a so short amount of time. If you're referring to Francis Ngannou, then yes, I agree. He has destroyed a bunch of people in a very short amount of time. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy how talented the guy is. It makes you wonder how many people there are on this planet that, if just given the opportunity, they can be as successful as Francis has been in the UFC. I think the world is full of people like that. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because that's part of my inspiration for this channel and for this promotion, Fighters Rep Promotions, which is my promotion. The reason I created the promotion is because as a former athlete myself, I felt glossed over. I felt like a lot of the guys that I competed with were glossed over, and I didn't want that to happen anymore. So I created Fighters Rep Promotions. We're going to be airing our live fights July 27th at Fighters Rep 7. It's going to be right here for free on YouTube. And so that's why I asked for you guys to help me fund Fighters Rep. I go, I think, above and beyond what most promotions, especially in my region, do to get these kids out there and get people to know them and build the channel and get them the chance that they deserve, the fair shake. And so that's what this promotion's all about. So you guys joining this chat, it's much appreciated. But let's get back to Francis. Magic Farm. I love what you're doing, man. Kind of debriefing. I'm sure that Ngannou will have that belt. Magic Farm, thank you so much for your comment. There's a real good chance he gets that belt. I think even if he can't beat DC, eventually DC is going to retire, and then there's going to be a vacuum at the top. And who's going to fill that void better than Francis Ngannou? That's crazy if Francis wins that title in just, the brief amount of time he's been fighting. Arc 7X Angel. Something must be said about the magnificent job Dewey has done with Francis. Well, sure. I mean, I'm sure Dewey has done a fantastic job with Francis for sure. I mean, Dewey is, Dewey Cooper, his trainer, the guy that you guys see with the braids on TV in the background, coaching him in his corner. I'm sure he's done wonderful things, but Francis is also just naturally a beast. I'm sure with or without Dewey Cooper, he would probably be successful, but I'm sure Dewey Cooper has just taken him to that next level. Dewey Cooper does have a great reputation. A guy I would love to meet, maybe interview on the channel for you guys at some point. 56K Smith, Francis versus Brock Lesnar. I don't want to see that. Brock Lesnar might not survive that fight. FDMZ, Curtis Blades and Francis Ngannou are really the future. Besides them, I don't see many heavyweights staying at the top. Maybe Stipe and Volkov too. Yeah, Stipe is good. Volkov is good too. You can't forget Derek Lewis. He's still got a lot of improving to do. He can potentially be better. I don't know if his back will hold up long enough for him to reach his potential. I hope it does. But yeah, there's some talent. I do hope that more heavyweights come out and start filling up the ranks in the UFC. I love the heavyweight division. just because of the excitement, the power that it brings, the one-punch knockouts. So, hopefully we can get some more. Lud casing the post-fight press conference with Ngannou started. You can watch that later. Stick around here. Let's discuss the fights. Tell me what you guys think. And, we'll watch that later. Philippe, a nice fight tonight and a nice chat. See you and bless you. Thank you so much, Philippe. Bless you too, brother. Arc 7X Angel, Brock don't want that smoke. I agree. Brock would get absolutely killed if he fought. I would literally worry for Brock if he had to fight Francis Ngannou. I wouldn't want to watch that. That would be a waste. That'd be a waste of time and hospital bills. Marco, Francis is such a freak of nature. If he can stay focused and learn a little wrestling, he can not but will hold it for a while. Excuse me. I agree. How long until USADA burst the Francis bubble? A lot of guys were built like him before USADA. Well, Marco, I'll say this. Having played sports in my past and lifted weights, and having done so with other guys, a lot of other guys, I don't think that physique is something that's only attainable through PEDs. I think if you lift weights and if you work out as hard as these guys do, you will be there. You will be there quite easily. I don't think it takes that much, and plus this is their job. I mean, their job is to just train and put on muscle, keep that muscle on, and wrestling and cardio and combat. So, it's only a matter of time before, people develop physiques like that when they're working out that hard. FDMZ, you got Cyril Gain as a new UFC heavyweight. He's the sparring partner of Francis Ngannou. That's another Gane, whatever. That's another prospect. I mean, there are a few. Eddie Cole, waste of time and hospital bills. LMAO, you funny. Thank you, Eddie. And I'm here. Not all night, but most of the night. And if you want to leave a tip, you can send it in the super chat. But yeah, I mean, come on, Eddie. You want to see Francis fight Brock Lesnar? I don't want to see Francis fight Brock Lesnar. That's ridiculous. I mean, I don't want to see Brock Lesnar fight anybody. The last time he fought somebody who can strike a little bit was Alistair Overeem, I think it was, who just beat the hell out of Pinata and, looked like he really hurt him bad. Imagine if Francis Ngannou landed a punch, which he would. He would just split the guy in half. Ricardo Beltran, Francis is a different breed. He is, man. Francis is he's a naturally gifted guy. You can tell he's working at his craft. He's been building that strength since a young kid. That's not something people are going to be able to match easily, and that's not a punch that anybody's going to be able to take. I don't see anyone in the heavyweight division that can take a punch from that guy. I don't see anyone anywhere, or I don't see farm animals that can take a punch from that guy. Jupiter I, Mark Hunt versus Ngannou. No, Jupiter. No, I don't want to see that. He destroys Mark Hunt if that fight happens. Let me see here. Ibrahima wrote something, but the message was retracted. Don't be scared, Ibrahima. You can say whatever you like in here. I will not report you to the YouTube police. Kevin Weeks, who does Francis fight next? And hi, I am new here. Kevin, thank you so much for joining the chat. Francis fights the winner of Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier, which is going to be the championship fight in the heavyweight division. With the win that he had today, he's going to be basically, he's a number one contender because of the win he had today. So he's going to be fighting the winner of Stipe versus DC, and I'm excited to see who wins that fight. Marco Martinez, who's left for Francis to fight outside Stipe and DC. Marco, honestly, nobody is left, my man. He's just gonna run through. I mean, there are other people he could fight, but they're basically gonna be punching bags from what I can see. Unless unless he's gonna run it back with Curtis Blades, and Blades can do something different. Run it back with Junior Dos Santos, but he better do something way different than what he did tonight. People just need to learn you can't just throw haymakers at this guy. He's too fast. He's too smart. You can't do that. Bijou P wrote, Amanda would lose to Holly and Cyborg. Bijou, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you had a little bit too much to drink this evening. If you want to tip the bartender, buy a Fighters Rep shirt or donate to the Super Chat. Thank you so much. Ibrahima Diallo, the Africa Fufu man. Ibrahima, I don't know what you mean. I was saying, don't be afraid to eat fufu. That's Ngannou's secret. Oh, I almost had fufu this past week in Miami. I think they had it at Pollo Tropical, or I went to visit Miami last week, and I think they had it there. I should have had some. I've never tried it, but I should have had some. Thank you for your comment. Arc7X Angel donated $2 to the Super Chat. Arc7X Angel, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. That really means a lot to me. I'm going to be obviously sending that over to continue to build and finance Fighters Rep promotions. Any help that you guys can give as far as donations, it's a real big help. And also, if you buy a shirt, you can get something for your donation. You can do that in the link below. But much love to anybody who donates to the Super Chat. Again, I use the money to continue to build our promotion, which is Fighters Rep Promotions. And it's the only, and it's sad to say, but I believe we're the only kickboxing promotion that is even really doing anything. There are a couple Muay Thai promotions around here in California, a couple MMA. But we're last of a dying breed, and it's really sad what's happened to combat sports. I think we've just had people not really know how to run the businesses properly and go under real fast. And then the ones that are around, some of them are kind of just sticking to amateur shows, not ambitious about growing. And then very few are actually, doing something. So I'm trying to create something here. For the strikers, not just people that want to go to the ground. This is another avenue for a lot of MMA fighters that maybe don't want to go to the ground but had no choice. So, we've got fantastic people on our cards, and it'll be live on July 27th, Fighters Rep 7. You can watch them stand and bang. I've got some of the best teams in the world that'll be competing. So thank you again so much for the donation. 56K Smith, he beat Curtis Blades twice, though. I know, man. I know. How many times? I don't know. We need more heavyweights. That's why I'm building this, promotion, even though it's striking only, kickboxing. But we need more heavyweights. We've always needed more heavyweights. Ibrahima Diallo, you should have some. Yes, dude. Ibrahima, feel free to send me some fufu, and I'll eat it right here on Thursday when I do my prediction at 9 p.m. Pacific, or immediately after the big fight. Or I'll even eat it at the live fight July 27th right here at Fighters Rep 7. I'll face the camera and eat the fufu, but you got to send it because I'm sure there's somewhere to get it out here in California, but I've never had it. So you can send some over. Kamara, why run it back? The outcome will be the same. Well, Kamara, this is MMA. The outcome could change. I agree that the outcome will likely be the same. But, in MMA, there's so many ways to lose. You can make a slight adjustment, and maybe you can come back and win the fight. It's something we've sort of seen in combat sports before. People coming back, making a change and winning. So, who knows? Who knows? But, he can't just beat Stipe and DC and then stop fighting. I mean, he's going to want to keep fighting. He's still in his 32 years old. He's still relatively in his prime. He's priming, so he's going to want to keep active. Jupiter Eye. Hey, you know what? I want to see Ngannou in a bare knuckle fighting championship. Jupiter Eye. Ngannou will. No, Jupiter Eye. No, we don't want fighters dying, Jupiter Eye. We want fighters living the fight another day. And that's part of the reason I don't like bare knuckles, because they get their faces chopped up, and then as soon as someone even touches their face, it's bleeding. So the referee will have to stop the fight. So I do not like Francis Ngannou in bare knuckle. I think bare knuckle is dumb. I understand why some people like it. I don't like it. I think it kills fighters' careers. I think that harms the fighter, the fight game, the promotion, everything. When you harm the fighter, which is the most integral part to a fight, you harm the fight game, and I don't like it. But to each his own. If you guys love it, hey, I don't care. Everybody has an opinion, and I respect everybody's opinion. Tony 007, does DC have a chance against Stipe? What do you think? Well, I think DC, to me, I don't know, unless he's aged a lot between the last fight and this one. I mean, he probably can win that fight the way he won the first one. So does he have a chance? Yes, he might do the same thing he did to Stipe last time. Who knows? Archangel. We'll have to check you guys out. I'm a kickboxer myself and run a gym in my home city. Archangel, where is that? Where is this city? And if you have a gym, once we start doing the pro-ams, which I'm planning at the end of this year, maybe you got some guys you want to put on the card. Get at me. Lud K is saying Francis and bare knuckle fighting championship. No way, he'll surely shatter both his hands in the opponent's skull with his power. I agree. If he doesn't shatter his hand, it's definitely going to be the opponent's orbital bone. I mean, he could probably punch through somebody's face. That's how hard that guy hits. Super chat donation set is not available in my area. Raul, thank you, my brother. You can always donate in the links below. I think I have Venmo, PayPal. I don't know what else. But if you want to donate, you can do that. Or you can buy a shirt. That'd be real cool, too. Much appreciated, though. Even if you can't, it's much appreciated. Muchísimas gracias, hermano. Magic Farm Ngannou is the only man in UFC history who beats Kane and JDS, especially by KO. I was thinking about that, Magic Farm, and he beat them like that. And that was really, really impressive. Really, really impressive. Jupiter Eye, give us your perspective on Israel Adesanya. I love Israel Adesanya. I love Israel Adesanya. But does he beat Robert Whittaker? Does he beat Chris Weidman? There's some killers. Does he beat Yoel Romero if Romero can make middleweight still? There are some killers in that division. And Gastelum, even though Gastelum is an absolute beast, and that was one of the best fights I've ever watched in my life, Gastelum's not really a striker like that to have punched up Israel the way he did. So, I don't know. I mean, I really like Israel. He definitely deserves to have that belt. But I think I want to see him. I want to see what he does against Whittaker. If he can beat Whittaker, then he really is the legit champ for me. Until then, though, he's still interim until he beats Whittaker, because Whittaker is the real deal. Israel, he's good, but I mean, again, the best guy he fought was Gastelum, and Gastelum was punching him a lot in that fight. Great fight. He was able to stop the takedown. He showed some jiu-jitsu skills. He's getting better, but and I love Israel Adesanya, but I still think he's got a little bit more to show. Me, at least, I want to see a little bit more before I say, okay, this guy's the man at middleweight. I think Robert Whitaker's the man at middleweight. Lud K is saying, don't you think we deserve a proper Ngannou versus Lewis fight? That's one that they can run back. Yeah, I want to see what happens with the new and improved Ngannou, one that has his confidence and his wits about him. I'd like to see that. Archangel, Grand Rapids, Michigan, bro. I'll definitely try to reach out to you. Much love, Archangel. Hey, man, you could find us on Fighters Rep on all social media. Hey, guys, please follow us, Fighters Rep, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and, of course, subscribe below. It'd be much appreciated. Subscribe, you lose nothing, and you can join all our chats in the future and get the notifications if you hit the bell icon. Your participation is much appreciated. Kamar Lewis, DC has been living in Stipe's head rent-free. You wrote tent-free, but I think you meant rent-free, and I agree 100%. DC is all up in Stipe's head, and I don't think it bodes well for Stipe, man. I mean, Stipe seems like a kind of weirdly calm guy that can keep his composure, but I don't know. I don't think it's good for DC to be that far in his head because he seems obsessed with DC, and I can understand why someone would be that way, because these guys are fighters. They want to be the best, but I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's good to be that emotionally invested in someone in a fight. I think it can cause certain guys to make mistakes. So I agree. Bossman J4, last style bender. Ludke, Adesanya loses to Whitaker and Romero, but wins against Weidman and 27 millions Romero to my mind. Yeah, I mean, I think he probably loses to Whitaker and Romero. Assuming Romero can even make the weight anymore. I don't know how I feel about Romero, to be honest with you. Weidman, who knows? There's also Jacare. Might be a good fight as well. But we'll see. Paul Paolo, this wasn't a competition. I know what you mean, Paul Paolo. You have to be more specific, my man. Bossman J4 Stylebender going to be the champion. Mark my words. Bossman, you might be right, but, he's got to, for me at least, he's got to show it. It's beating Gastelum is not beating Whitaker, is not beating Weidman, is not beating, a lot of the guys in that division, Jacare. So he's got to do it against a couple more legitimate guys, and then I'll be sold on the idea of Israel Adesanya being the man in that division. On Dieck, do you think Francis ready to face Stipe? Yes, on Dieck. I do think Francis is ready to face Stipe. I think Francis can knock Stipe out. I think Francis can knock DC out. He almost knocked Stipe out a couple times in that last fight, and he wasn't at the level he's at now. He's continued to advance. So we'll see. We'll see what happens now after the DC Stipe fight and who fights who at the end of that. Roberto Lara, I'm Brazilian. Do you like Cigano? Yes, I like Cigano very much. I don't think he should retire. A couple people in the chat tonight called on him to retire, but I don't think he should retire because, he's still up there. He came in with what I think is a stupid game plan. That was a horrible game plan. Jupiter I. Hey, almost forgot. What is your impression on Alexander Rakic? That KO against Manoa was insane. Some say he's the next big thing. Yeah, he looked really good. He looked really good, man. But, Manoa's a good guy, but he's kind of damaged goods too, right? And he's getting KO'd left and right too. But, I mean, I can see this Rakic guy being a good guy. He looked good, and I'd want to see more of him. What do you think of Rakic, Jupiter I? JMX45 Ngannou is a monster. Yes, he is. 56 K Smith. Adesanya wants to eventually fight Jones. No way he would win. I agree with that. I didn't even understand what that beef was about. That's like, heavyweight versus a lightweight or something. I mean, I know it's middleweight versus light heavyweight, but I mean, they're not. It's different frames. John Jones is way too big for Adesanya. I don't think Adesanya would be able to do anything against John Jones unless he put on a lot more weight. And I just don't think his frame was designed for a guy like John Jones. I think John Jones would break him up badly. Tony 007, Romero, Angel of Steroid. What do you think on steroid users? Should they be banned for life? I think steroid users should be warned one time, and then I think it depends on how much steroids they were taking. I mean, if it was a lot, maybe, I don't know, a certain amount, maybe they should set like a quantity, what's in their blood. But I think typically people should get a warning. If they can't change, then the second time, ban them. I think they should be banned for life because, as a promoter, and you guys, as I've said before, can donate to the promotion, to the super chat, and we'll be airing our live fights July 27th, Fighters Rep 7. But as a promoter, I worry about the fighters. I don't want them to get hurt. And if there's a guy with an unfair advantage and a fighter gets hurt because of it, that's something that was avoidable. And that's something that could impact the fighter for the rest of his life. I'll be posting it soon, but I actually did an interview back in the day. It's on my other channel, but I'll be putting it here, with Magomed Abdusalamov, who, he got punched in his head and it ruined his life in a fight versus, I think it was Mike Perez. And he's like almost like a vegetable now. He's paralyzed and stuff like that. So, if a steroid is allowed for one guy, not for another, and it gives him enough of an advantage to cause some kind of permanent harm to the opponent, that's something that could have been avoided. And if there's any way for me to avoid any of that stuff, I'm all for it. And so, yeah, I think steroid users, you get one shot. If you get caught, you should get punished. And then it should be a severe punishment. And if you do it again, you should be banned for life. Eddie Cole, Ricardo Beltran has a point. Francis is a different breed. I grew up in Africa. There are millions of guys like him walking around. What do you expect when you have to walk 4 or 5 miles just to get drinking water? The struggle will build you. Oh, yeah, I mean, absolutely. He is a different breed, but, Eddie, let's be honest. I mean, there's guys like that all over the world. There's guys like that everywhere. I've got family in the Middle East. I've got family in Venezuela right now, Mexico. And, these people, they struggle too. A lot of people there are struggling and are stronger because of it. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't deserve the struggle the way they do, but that's the way of the world right now. I don't really want to get into that. It's depressing. Let's keep it fight game. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely tons of guys in Africa and other places that, if given the opportunity, can probably be really successful in a lot of things. And again, that's part of the reason I created Fighters Rep, this channel, is to continue to build Fighters Rep, which is my kickboxing promotion, and to find these young people and give them the opportunities. Actually, our champion, Wilson Ha, is a guy who I believe he's from China originally, but he was a two-striker. He had 2 strikes, and he had to leave the United States and come back, and he got he got in trouble again. So that's why he left the United States, but then he came back, turned his life around when he found Muay Thai and kickboxing. And so, that's the kind of struggle that a lot of people deal with, especially a lot of these fighters. And that's part of the reason I created Fighters Rep, is to help people out, So that's why I ask people anytime, if you want to donate to the super chat or the links below or buy a shirt, I use that money to build up Fighters Rep, and your time and donation is greatly appreciated. Eddie Cole. Oh, no, I already read that one. Ondiak, hi. From Kenya, by the way. Look at what happened to Overeem after steroid testing. He is a shadow of himself. Ondiak, you're absolutely right, my brother, man. And thank you so much for joining me from Kenya. That is incredible, let me tell you. And it's really cool to have you on the channel. Yeah, I mean, you're right. After that steroid stuff got banned, Yeah, he did become a shadow himself, and so did Vitor Belfort. So it really. I'm glad that they stepped it up and prevented a lot of these guys from continuing to cheat. Jupiter I Rakic is very humble and self-critical. I'm Serbian like Rakic. Watching him on a Croatian podcast, he's really humble and rational guy. I personally think he'll be in the spotlight very soon. It's another tough region. The Serbians went through a lot, and I mean, Rakic looks like a tough guy. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. Ondiak, true struggle everywhere. It depends on the heart of the fighter. I know plenty of Africans who lays the even fighter in Muay Thai. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ondiak. It's just depends on the person. It depends on the individual. Like, I think with everything, it depends on the individual. Reichsfuhrer Heinrich Himmler. Oh, Lord. Africans would produce an incredible amount of world-class athletes if they weren't so poor. Great athletes, dim people. Yeah, Reichsfuhrer. I think if you're saying that they're dim as in they're dumb, I disagree with you there, and you should probably go to another chat, my man. No need to insult a whole people. Kamar Lewis, I've been watching MMA since 2008. No matter how we feel about Dana White, we have to show him respect because he always makes the best fights, the best, unlike in boxing, Crawford versus Spence. Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I respect Dana White too, Kamara. It's funny. I mean, I've actually brought this up to people in the past where I say, yeah, the UFC might be a monopoly, sort of. I actually don't think they're a monopoly. I just think they're kicking everybody's ass in a capitalist market. But I mean, you got the best fighting the best. I mean, it's better than having 25 promotions where neither one will fight each other. Adam Ponce is saying, you skipped me. Adam, I'm sorry. I didn't see if you wrote something earlier. If you want to rewrite it, go ahead and do so, and I will make it up to you, brother. Ondiak wrote, I disagree, Reich. I don't think I'm so dumb. Ondiak, I think this Reich guy is probably just what we would call a troll and, looking to get attention because, a lot of these people, their mothers didn't give them enough lollipops growing up, or their daddy didn't love them or whatever. If that's the case, then he should just let us know. We can give him a hug. He can become reasonable, and then we can continue this conversation. Until then, though, he should just leave. Tony 007, what do you think about John Jones' loss in 2009 by Matt Hamill? Should or should not be overturned? I think it's stupid and it should be overturned. Ondiak, we send him some cattle milk. Oh, I love it, my brother. I love it, Ondiak. Yeah, bro, but hey, I'm not sending him anything. You can send it to him. Okay, I don't know. I don't want nothing to do with the guy after what he wrote there. Yeah, so there you have it. I mean, knuckleheads, we've been on this chat for an hour and 18 minutes. Your presence was much appreciated. If you guys enjoy the discussion, you can always join me, George from Fighters Rep, Thursdays at 9 p.m. Pacific time. And also immediately after the big fight, we basically just cover and talk about the big fights typically. This weekend, I thought this was the only big fight. And also, we'll be airing our own fight July 27th, Fighters Rep 7. You can watch it live right here on YouTube. And that would be much appreciated if you want to donate and help me continue to build the promotion. I would love to rely on the YouTube community to help me build the promotion. All you got to do is donate to the super chat, donate in the links below, or buy a shirt, and I'll continue to build the promotion for these kids we got down here in Southern California. I'm also going to be continuing to do interviews with fighters and coaches. If you guys didn't see, I had an interview with Andy Ruiz's coach just like a week or two ago, and it got like 40-something thousand views. Thank you guys for that. So be on the lookout for our interviews, our live fights. And again, every Thursday and Saturday after the fights, we'll be doing this. And sometimes I do a chat on Sundays. I call it Anxiety Sunday because the work week is about to fall upon us on a Sunday. And I like to hold it off by talking about combat sports. So thank you guys so much for joining the chat. Eddie Cole, you are cool people. He said, add Cash App to your donation list. Some of us don't all have all those fancy apps. I do have Cash App, and I think it's also Fighters Rep. You can find me there, but I definitely will add it. Thank you guys so much. It's much appreciated. Please continue to join me, man. You guys were fantastic. You know, I love to hear what you guys have to say. And I love that this is a place where us knuckleheads, what I call people that follow Fighters Rep, where us knuckleheads can come together and talk about the fights without all the drama and be objective and not be, you know, weird and xenophobic or whatever this Reichfuhrer guy here is. Thank you so much for your time, Reichfuhrer. I think you should find another chat, my man. Archangel, excellent show. Glad I stumbled across this. Most High works in mysterious ways. Thank you, my man. Thank you, and it's a pleasure to have had you. And you know, your generosity and intentions are much appreciated. And I wish you nothing but the best. AEW, AEW, AEW. Adam Ponce, thank you so much. I don't know what that means, but big shout out to all of you guys. Hey, you guys have a good night. I might be doing an Anxiety Sunday tomorrow around 9 p.m. Pacific. So if you want to join that, I'll be here. Have a great one, you guys. Oh, and be sure to subscribe below.